Hello and welcome to Core Finance. Today we are joined by Stephen Sanderson, who is the CEO of UK Oil and Gas. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. Stephen, Portland sounds like an exciting project. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, in a nutshell, we've been working on this for over a year, and now we've signed the on the dotted line. So the project is ours. It's very much in keeping with our strategy to kind of diversify away from oil and gas in the UK to renewable energies, because that's the future. And as I see it, that's the way for the UK to become energy independent.
And are we able to become energy independent?
Well, yes, we are, if we don't rely on imports. And I think the main drive for this is energy storage, and by that I mean gas and hydrogen, but really the driver for it is for hydrogen. And I think that's a fundamental part of the government's new energy security strategy. And energy storage for hydrogen is absolutely key. If you look at the national grids, future energy scenarios, each one of them has a big box around hydrogen storage. So we're very much looking at the future for UKOG, obviously, but also the future for the UK.
And why should we be hydrogen ready?
Well, in a nutshell, that's quite complex in the sense that it's not just a buzzword. Hydrogen is a very small and reactive molecule, and it does funny things to high-grade steels. And normally, it actually makes them quite brittle. So normally, natural gas facilities are engineered with very high-grade steels. And so therefore, in order to be able to take hydrogen, it's very difficult to repurpose existing, oil and gas facilities, gas storage. So what we're going to do is basically, we've got, smart engineers working on it. What we're going to do is basically put in the infrastructure which is capable of taking pure hydrogen, so that pretty much from the get-go we can either fill these storage caverns with natural gas and or hydrogen. So it's part of the future. So we thought, well, we'll make it ready, because I think in 10 years time hydrogen is going to be a significant part of the energy mix.
And how do you see this gelling with projects like offshore wind?
Well, I think very much it's, we're looking at green hydrogen. Obviously, we're looking at storing it, but a big part of the future part of the project is actually to generate hydrogen, green hydrogen, and that will be via electrolysis. We possibly may do a pilot to actually generate it by geothermal energy. And the ideal combination is, because we're Portland, we're right on the coast, is to have a link up with an over the horizon floating wind farm that generates, gigawatts of electricity, and then we can put that ashore and then generate the hydrogen and store the hydrogen, put it in the pipeline. Or the thing that actually really fascinates me is something called a hydrogen battery, which is basically you convert the surplus wind power, renewable power, when it's not required, into hydrogen via electrolysis. And then you store the hydrogen in the caverns. And then when the demand is up, either say in the winter or when the wind doesn't blow or nuclear is out for some reason, you can basically put the hydrogen straight through, generate electricity, put that into the grid. So, simple. It's just a few details behind that.
Stephen, I think you just touched on it, but can you give us a bit more detail? What are salt caverns?
Okay. Well, the way we envisage this is that Portland, they're underneath Portland, about 2,000 meters below the surface. There's what we call rock salt, and these are very thick. They're 500-600 meters thick, and what we do is basically very simple. We drill into it, we inject water into it, and that dissolves the rock salt. I mean, you all know that if you put salt into a glass of water, it dissolves, and that's the That's basically what we do. We just dissolve out a cavern. The caverns themselves are never empty. They're either full of brine, salty water, or they're filled with gas, or again, salty brine. The dimensions of them are enormous. They're probably what we're aiming for, something that's 100 meters wide, 100 meters or more tall. They will contain each of them about 3 billion cubic feet of gas. So I can't tell you that in metric because I'm an imperial thinker. We're planning 14 of them, which will have 43 billion cubic feet of gas storage, which is quite a lot. It's about it would represent a 70% increase over the UK's current gas storage, underground gas storage, which is quite material. Going for the future, said about hydrogen being absolutely reliant on having significant energy storage. If you look at the National Grid's future energy scenarios, they say that the majority of hydrogen storage is likely to be in salt caverns. We would agree with that, but more significantly, they have 4 different scenarios for the future, but their demand for hydrogen storage is predicted to be 30 to 50 terawatt hours, which is a measure of, you know, the power that can be retained in the storage. But more importantly, that would represent a 3 to 10 times increase in storage over what we have at the moment. So clearly, hydrogen storage is going to be a growth industry because we simply don't have enough of it at the moment. And, you know, Portland itself could be a very significant and strategic asset for the future hydrogen economy.
It certainly sounds like it. Stephen, just to round up for today, how long do you think that this will take and how much could it cost?
Well, you know, planning is involved, so it's always a bit open-ended. But no, seriously, what we're looking at is because this is a large infrastructure. In fact, it qualifies to be a nationally significant infrastructure project, and that has a very different planning process. The decision is actually not made by the local county council, which would be Dorset. It's actually made by the planning inspectorate and the Secretary of State for Housing and Local Communities. Is currently Michael Gove. And that process requires a lot of upfront consultation. So we plan to get the planning application in 2 years and 12, 15 months for the decision to be made. So we plan to actually start construction in about 4 years. So the first 2 years for us will be completing all the engineering studies, what's called front-end engineering design, and also the planning. And then once that's put in, we'll then start more materially on the fundraising side. And it's important to understand for, you know, investors to understand that actually the sums involved to get to planning are fairly modest, a few millions plus our ground rent. But obviously, you know, this is going to be an expensive project. But what we're looking to do is find strategic investors, partnerships with, you know, key infrastructure players, and we're also going to look to the government. We are actually applying as part of the we're looking to apply for funding under the hydrogen fund scheme for the initial parts of this. So I think, you know, first of all, get the planning in, get the planning consent, and then look for strategic partners and hopefully debt funding for quite a big chunk of this.
Stephen, thank you very much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
And thank you for watching Core Finance.